Hi everyone, we introduce ARNASE Air Protection by Arturo, Natalie, and Sebastian. Well, the problem to solve. Near Earth objects are a headache for a planet Earth. These are asteroids and comets, and some satellites trapped by the attraction of the Sun and neighboring planets, and whose orbits could bring them dangerously close to the Earth. This could cause not only direct disaster, such as a destruction of an specific areas of the Earth, but also indirect disaster, in which the life of a certain population may be affected by a consequences of a collision. For this reason, it is important to detect them in a time, which is difficult especially for a small objects, for example, some small satellites. For this, it is important to have a constant monitoring system for such threats. For any specific problem, we try to protection against any space object in Costa Rica.
Well, our first solution is monitoring space, and it's so important because with this we can know if our planet is in danger or not, and also we're going to know how can we monitor from the Earth. So that's so important part. And well, all objects from the space that could cause an impact on the Earth are identified in the propulsion laboratory. And maybe you are thinking about, how can we do it? Well, basically, it's with specialized equipment. We use a lot of multiple telescopes and we combine to identify celestial bodies that we can classify as dangerous days at advance. Also, we use radar systems to identify them. For example, in case they are not visible in telescopes. So, I don't know, I think this is the reason why it's so important to determine the trajectory of the object because with telescope you can only see like a body moving. So, yeah, once determined the trajectory of this project or body or whatever, it is monitored to calculate the magnitude of the orbital parameters it could have and basically the potential dangers. So here we analyze the size and the speed at which the object approaches our orbit. It's so important to say that this monitoring are carried out by the group researchers who works basically 24 hours a day to identify and track possible dangerous objects. And they identify not only the trajectory, they also identify what is the object composed and in order to analyze the risk and the air could have faced, right? And also it's not only like at the moment of the impact, it's also the consequence that could have afterwards. So it's so important. And well, finally, in case like in the event of a tree in the middle and the short term, this group of researchers that I talked before oversees informating to authorities to create a protocol and find a way which humanity is less affected by the impact and the consequence of all of this.
Now we are going to continue with some facts that we found in our investigation that are important to expose. And the first one is like a difference between different space objects that is important to have clear. Uh, the first object that we're going to talk about are asteroids that they are relatively small inactive rocks that are orbiting the sun. Then we have meteorites that they are like small particles from comets or asteroids that Also orbiting the sun, we have comets that they are relatively small objects which ice can vaporize in the sunlight, forming a tail of dust and gas, right? Um, we also have meteors that it is a light phenomena which results when a meteoroid enters the Earth atmosphere and vaporizes. So when a meteoroid enters the Earth, it produces a light phenomena in the vaporize process. And we have meteorites that a meteorite is a space object that survives the passage through the Earth's atmosphere and lands in the surface. It's like a space object that makes this way through the atmosphere and actually hits the Earth. Uh, some extra facts that we found is that the Earth receives 100 tons of dust every day. Uh, it is like the size of particles. It is really small, and it actually doesn't hit the surface, but it is a lot. 100 tons every day. Another fact that we found is that once a year, an asteroid of the size of a car hits the Earth, and actually you can found this in the news like a year ago, maybe two. An asteroid make this way through the Earth and land here in Costa Rica. Another fact is that space rock smaller than 20 meters will burn up in the atmosphere, and this is important to know because everything that is smaller than this will not represent a threat. Also, a rocky meteoroid larger than 25 meters but smaller than 1 kilometer will produce only local damage. And the final fact is that anything larger than 2 kilometers could have worldwide effects. So if something is larger than 2 kilometers, it is a real threat for the planet. And it is a real danger for us as a species. Now we are going to present our response protocol, like steps we need to do in case of a threat. And it is made of 7 steps that we are going to see right now. The first one is to identify possible threats. We saw that anything larger than 25 meters is a threat. So we need to look for these potential threats in space. The second space is a threat analysis. You know, respond the question, how bad is it? Set a level of risk that could be like very low, medium, high, or very high. And based on this, the authorities will need to respond. And also we need to identify the risk zones, those areas where people is in danger, especially if the sun, especially the zones where the object is going to hit, right? And we also need to identify safe zones, areas that are far away that are considered safe, where we can take people that is in danger and put into these safe zones. The next step will be to alert the threat, communicate the threat, and this can be done through the news, the radio, social media. And actually, here in Costa Rica, we will need help of the National Commission of Emergencies, that is the authority that is in charge of any emergency in the country. The next step will be to request international help to destroy the threat, right? Because here in Costa Rica, we don't have the necessary technology like rockets or missiles to destroy a space object, but we could ask for help for to a country like United States, China, or Russia, and they can help us. uh, the next step will be the evacuation. This would require to mobilize the emergency personnel to help people at risk, people that are in the danger zone. Then after the event, we will need to search for wounded, uh, do a fire control to prevent more damage. In general, we will need to do a damage control of the sun. And finally, we will need to rebuild the damage produced by this space object.
And here are our reference. Thank you so much.